An open letter to the green, white, and green. Hope they have ears to hear.
Dear Nigerians, as South Africans, we've never been xenophobic. South Africa is the most loving and welcoming country to Africans than any country in the world. We have millions of Africans in our country, from the north side of Africa to the south, from the east to the west. Our country is the most preferable destination of African migrators, and we always find compromising ways to make them feel at home as they're chasing their dreams. Perhaps that's the reason our fellow Africans are now taking advantage of our humility and generosity. They do not want what we can offer them. They do not want what they can work hard for. They want to take all that we have and all that we don't even have for ourselves. You cannot come into my house without an invitation, the same way you come into my country illegally. Okay, now that you're in my house uninvited, I give you a seat and offer you a glass of water, the same way I welcomed you as an illegal immigrant, understanding your predicaments. Pay attention, you're still in my house uninvited, yet I still gave you a seat and offered you a glass of water. But for some reason, you want more than what I offered you. You want to take my wife, you want to own my house and turn me into a tenant that's gonna pay rent to you. The same way you illegally came into my country, and instead of making an honest living, you hijack our cars, you hijack our buildings at our CBDs and turn our people into your tenants. Now how do you think I'm gonna react to your actions? How do you expect me to love you as a brother? You start selling drugs in my country. You start deceiving the young and the vulnerable. You turn them into addicts. Then when they keep coming for more, you tell them your products ain't cheap, so that they can go back to the hood where we live and start robbing our people just to get your money for a fix. The young girls you turn into addicts are now sleeping with you for a fix. That's what you wanted, huh? You deceived them and told them that drugs are good because you knew they were young and stupid. You successfully turned them into addicts, knowing there'll come a time where they won't afford to feed their addiction anymore, and they'll have no choice other than to eventually succumb to the idea of sleeping with you. And when you're tired of using them, you turn them into prostitutes in one of those illegal brothels you operate in one of those hijacked buildings. You start kidnapping those you couldn't deceive for human trafficking, selling them to be sex slaves in Nigeria and obviously to other pimps in other countries too. You got gangs from city to city in my country. You make us feel like we the foreigners in our own country. You disrespect our personalities, our laws and principles. Your arrogance and ignorance is at its peak. You think so low of us just because we took you in as a brother when you first came in looking for help, searching for a greener pasture, looking for the promised land. Our biggest regrettable mistake is that we saw a brother in the devil that came into our country to steal, kill, and destroy. Anger, animosity, and resentment. Those are the three dangerous emotions collaborating in our hearts and minds. Now we start fighting anything and anything that looks like you. We start resenting everyone Nigerian, and by the minute we put our feelings into action, it's not gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be painful. It's gonna be a disastrous phenomena. And you will open your mouth and say, South Africans are xenophobic. South Africans hate us. South Africans hate black people. South Africans hate Africans. And your media is gonna run along with the one-sided stories. You have so many Nigerians who ran away from their own country to the Western countries, and they're gonna tweet about how xenophobic we are. Then the media outlets in the Western world are gonna run along with the one-sided stories to silence us, to make us give up our country to evil immigrants. Before I end this letter, let's assume you're right. Let's say we hate Africans, hypothetically speaking. How is it that we do not hate people from Botswana, Ghana, Swaziland, Mauritius, Lesotho, Kenya, and people from so many African nations? Aren't they African enough to say we love Africans, referring to them? You see, the problem is that Nigerians go into people's countries and call themselves Nigerians proudly, but when they are no longer wanted because of their evil deeds, they refrain from calling themselves Nigerians, and they want to use the term African to identify themselves. Africans do not have a problem with Africans, but Africans have a problem with Nigerians because Nigerians have a problem with Africans. Nigerians even have a problem with other Nigerians. That is why the Igbos want to isolate themselves from Nigeria to Biafra. That's why the Yoruba people want to separate themselves and have their own country as well, because they can't live peacefully together in their country. There's so much bloodshed because of tribalism in Nigeria. So how can they love anybody when they don't even love themselves? Dear Nigerians, at this point, we do not care whether you call us Afrophobic or xenophobic. We only care about doing what's right for our people and for our country. You have killed, raped, robbed, hijacked, scammed, defrauded, kidnapped and sold so many of our citizens, and no one dared to label you anything. We are fixing our country now. Feel free to call us anything, but there won't be a difference. Enough is enough. Just like Dayton, McKenzie, it's a country city. Abahambe.